My name is Mackenzie Kaur. Today is April 25th, 2019, and the password today is popcorn. Here's my audience. I work for a church that is 264 years old. I'm also the board secretary and have been attending this church my entire life. This church family and building are like a second home to me. What you might not know is that we are the oldest church in Schuylkill County and have a very colorful history. Perhaps you have heard the tales about Native Americans burning down the first structure that the early settlers built. This is a true story, as the church sits at the bottom of a mountain called Sculp's Hill, and it is known that scalping happened often on those grounds. The Native Americans that lived on this mountain did not approve of the invaders below and wanted to send a message. Let's just say the founders of Zionsville Church did not have it easy. Not only did the settlers have to overcome the Native Americans trying to scare them away, but the congregation has also had to survive epidemics such as cholera. In the 1950s, there was a propane tank explosion that shook the old church building, leaving the sounding board above the pulpit crooked for the last 60 years as a reminder of the heroes lost that day. I gathered this information from the history booklet that's been published by the church earlier this year. Through all this trouble, the congregation and community have found ways to survive and even thrive with their faith and worshiping together in this much-loved church. Unfortunately, this may not be the case for some future generations. First, let's take a look at what the church needs. This building is a staple in the community of Orisburg, but it is struggling financially and may only have a few years left. Based on our latest budget compiled by the treasurer, the church is spending about 4.5 times as much money as it's bringing in each month. With totals estimated at $11,000 for monthly expenses and $2,500 as the monthly income, it's easy to calculate that the church will run out of money. Right now, Zionsville Church only has about 6 or 7 years left, financially speaking, according to the 2018 budget. These figures are based solely on regularly and reoccurring bills required for maintenance and the upkeep of the building. This budget does not reflect the unforeseen expenses which have happened within the past year. For example, there's been a time-sensitive mold issue discovered in the basement this past summer. Luckily for the church, the insurance covered the cost of the kitchen renovation, but it was still a large project that cost a lot of money. If the church had to pay for everything out of pocket, that projected figure of 6 or 7 years would be much smaller. So far, the church was able to keep its doors open because of a one-time profit from selling much of the land that it has owned since it was founded. Though this strategy helped them once, it is not a viable source of residual income, which the church needs if it wants to stay open to serve the community. Now let's look at some ways that we can fix those needs. The church has tried to cut back on the expenses that are not vital for running the church each week. However, we should also be reaching out to our community and finding new and innovative solutions. One way the church may be able to make some money is to hold fundraisers. They have seen success with this strategy, as I recently spoke with a member of Zionsville Church who has just come home from a 4-month hospital stay, which came with many medical bills. The church used their fundraising idea to help Diane with those expenses, and now the board is holding discussions for further fundraising ideas to help with their own expenses. Another possible method for creating a new source of income would be to invest their current savings into a new venture. This could include using their current resources to remodel or build a hall that could be rented out by events by the community. Not only could they potentially receive rental money, but perhaps new members for the church as they meet new faces and people become aware of the church and all it has to offer. Apart from the local community, Red Church could reach out to help from the wider communities of the United Church of Christ and the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America. These are the two denominations that the church has worked hard with over the last 10 years to combine their congregation to become federated. Each of these organizations have resources and officials who oversee the work being done in each church. Their websites are ucc.org and elca.org, respectively, and offer resources for growing churches and their communities. Fine, let's now envision what will happen to Red Church if you choose not to help today. If the church cannot come up with any income-producing ideas or loses money on a possible investment, we could see potentially losing the historic church and a loved church of a congregation and they'll be unwillingly separated. For some, this is the only time they see their friends during the week, and it would be unfortunate for these people to no longer have that time together. Not to mention, the building could potentially go into a state of ruin if no one's there to keep it maintained. The current building has been standing since 1884, so this would be a historic loss for the community. Additionally, when members are in a time of need, they won't have the church to turn for help. Not only does the church help their own members in a time of crisis, as I mentioned earlier with Diane, they also help complete strangers who are down on their luck. Since the beginning of 2019 alone, the church has been able to help Diane, a woman who needed her car fixed to get to work and school, a couple who needed gas money to get to a hospital, and a family of 4 who lost everything in a house fire. Without the church to turn to, these people might still be struggling in their lives. Finally, I want to reiterate to you that Red Church is a vital part of the community, not only as it helps members and those in need, but as a historically significant part of Schuylkill County. Losing this building and the place it holds in people's hearts would be a tragedy for our community and an end to an amazing story. I urge you to visit our website, zionsredchurch.com, and find us on Facebook, and donate anything you can, even just a few dollars. Because when you get to know the members of this congregation, you will feel the love that ruminates from each person. And as a result, you will want to help them fight to keep their beloved church alive for the next 264 years.